And we are back here once again with another episode of the MSK show, and this is going to be episode 27. And this will be another segment of Content Creator Spotlight presenting X Person. And the content creator that I will be presenting for this segment of Content Creator Spotlight is Sophmorejohn. It's going to be his first appearance on the show. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm been real
Anytime,
excited
man.
to do
Yeah.
real excited to do this with you. And I don't know if you can tell very well. I picked two special records just for you. Because I know you're a comic book guy. So the one on this side here is Coheed and Cambria, who has a comic book that goes with their music. And then this one over here is just a great homage to old 70s comic books. And so I wanted to do something nice and special for you.
Thank you. Yeah, better than my wife, who just goes around and sleeps with my freaking brother. I'm just kidding. Came home one day, she was getting plowed by a Tyrone, and I'm like, you know what? I got to throw this woman on the streets. Turns out you're going through a divorce and you're a man in any place, they take all your money. But guys, did that story ever happen? Did my wife cheat on me with the black guy? Find out next time on Dragon. Crazy. The guy that did that, to find out next time on Dragon Ball Z, he died a few days ago.
Oh, geez.
That's crazy to think about. The guy that is iconic for saying that find out next time is gone now. Oh, it's like, damn, all the legends are just passing away. But to be fair, these people are already old in general. You know, their careers boomed when they were like 20, and we were like 5 at that point. So, you know, well, we got a lot of things to go over. So let's start with your origin story. So how was your life growing up, man?
My life was good. I mean, I was raised by a single mom for a big chunk of it, but I had a really good stepdad who came in for a very small period of my life and really encouraged me to play music. He taught me everything, a lot of the things that I know about music and kind of what I do on my show. I got to play in punk rock bands for a living for 15 years.
Oh, awesome. You come from a musician background. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, see, nobody in my family is a musician. My dad can't sing or play music. My mom played a little bit of piano. She could sing.
Band when you were in school?
I was in my own bands. I didn't play in school band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Self-taught. Crazy. Okay.
Yeah, I did take a little bit of guitar lessons, but singing and like bass guitar and drums and harmonica, stuff like that, I learned all that on my own once I kind of knew what I was doing. And I just started writing music and finding people that wanted to play music. And we started playing in bands. And I went on my first tour from Northern California to Oregon and back when I was 14 years old, played my first bar at 14 years old. And I just kind of did that. And for a very long time, played as far south as Mexico and as far north as Canada and traveled all across.
Did you ever get a record deal at some point or offered one?
It was close. Very, very close. We were in negotiations with Hellcat Records, which is owned by the band Rancid. If you're familiar with them, that's their own label, and that was about as close as we got. But we got to different bands got to do a lot of different things. One of my last band, we got to open for My Chemical Romance when they were doing a couple of secret shows in Southern California. So we got to do stuff like that. Tons of fun. It was a great experience. I loved every minute of that.
So, you know, growing up, the way music was, like those big giant black record labels, record shops, and the way like music was really hard to access if you just wanted to hear a song or whatever. People had to play radio and tape the song that went back then, cassette players and everything. Music now is so easily accessible. I think that took away the hype of music, right? When a new single used to drop, like it used to be a big thing, actually, you know? Yeah. Now music is so easily accessible. You're kind of just like, oh, yeah, I'll just go on YouTube and watch that, listen to that music video. It's like, fucking hell, I'd kill for that as a kid. Just have YouTube, just to access to songs whenever I wanted to. Just click a button, your song is right there playing for you. Crazy.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, in the early 90s. I was born in 83, right? But MTV was still, playing music videos at the time. And Fox, the television station, they paid huge sums of money to be the first ones to play like Aerosmith's new single and Michael Jackson's Black or White. That was a huge, like they made that a huge national television thing. Like this is the first time anyone's ever going to see this video. And so, yeah, digital music has really, honestly, I think, kind of has destroyed the record industry, but then also the joy of listening to an album from the beginning to the end. Artists, much like a comic book or in films or whatever, you tell a story and it has a beginning and a middle and an end. And the intent is for you to watch or listen and read through that story. Whether it's a 12 different songs or whether it's a concept album, it's still a point in a person's life and they have something to say. And you don't get that with the digital singles nowadays, because now it's everyone's just releasing a single until they have enough singles to put out an album. Maybe they do that. Some people don't. I don't know.
Oh, the other thing I'll ask is, do you think we'll ever get to that point again with music where it's this big thing that people are just looking forward to, other than it just being this like casual, fleeting thing that you just have access to?
I would like to think so, considering the boom in vinyl records in the last 10 years. Cassette tapes have made a huge comeback, believe it or not, which surprised the heck out of me. But then when you realize that a lot of these kids can only afford cars that have tape players in them, it kind of makes sense right now that tapes are making a comeback. I would like to think so. But it starts like at a local level. Like people have to want to go see local shows, and
Yeah.
there's got to be local shows. There's got to be people have to want to play music. For the most part, people, and then it depends on the music, right?
Right.
Because you have these huge old bands, well, not anymore, but you've got the AC/DCs and the Guns N' Roses and Iron Maidens and whatever. These are big bands that are well established. They've been doing this for years, but you don't see a new like rock and roll band. You see the Taylor Swifts and the Post Malones and rap and hip hop and I'm not a huge fan of those genres, although I'll listen to them if somebody really has something to say or I think they're talented, right? But the big kind of era of arena rock concerts is just kind of it's Ticketmaster has destroyed
now, isn't it?
Ticketmaster's destroyed going to see a concert. I mean, we're talking, and I not that a lot of people care about this, right? But from like 1960 to I'm gonna say like 89 or so, ticket prices stayed the same. They went with maybe not really inflation, but like the same price that you would pay in 1985 to go see one of the biggest bands of the time, right? Let's just say Van Halen or whatever, was the same price that you paid to go see the Beatles' last show in San Francisco at Candlestick Park. Which is insane when you think about it, right? But awesome, because like my mom got to see on these incredible bands, all of them for under $20. I could never see any of those bands ever for that price or anywhere close to it, unless they're playing in a senior citizen's home.
So after you had the band career you did, eventually you got married, right? You had ended up having kids at some point.
Yeah, I got married when I was, let's see here, in my early 30s, and I have two daughters.
Okay.
Which
how's that been being a dad then?
It's the best thing in the world to me. It's my favorite thing. I love spending time with them. I love teaching them about things, showing them the things that I love. And sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. But music is definitely like in their bones, which makes me really happy. I used to play sports too, so there's some I can see a little bit of athleticism in them. And my hope is to just teach them and show them the world as best I can to be self-sustaining adults and not idiots. I love it.
You know how men are having problems basically finding any woman, and not because they don't want to. It's more like, there's some really bad women out there that obviously they'll get married and take all your money, reveal they never actually cared for you, loved you, just being just terrible women in general. Because that's the reason why a lot of men aren't dating now. People actually look into like most of the stuff people are saying. It's mostly because they don't trust that the average dating pool of women they have access to is worthy enough for marriage or kids or anything. What's the best advice you can offer to young men in the dating pool?
Go to church.
Okay.
That I
You
mean,
are very religious. Yeah, yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, yes, I go to church, right? But I mean, listen, first off, you want to find somebody that has the same moral values as you, the same, I hate to say, but the same political values,
Hmm.
the same commonalities and interests, but also somebody that's going to push you as a man to be a better man. A good
Yeah.
woman's going to make you a better man.
Hmm.
And being a dad is also going to make you a better man. So depending on that, now, with that being said, um, the internet really hurt dating, and social media has really hurt people to people interaction.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just a dating thing. I think it's just people don't know how to interact with people in general.
Yeah.
And that's really not a great thing for society. I met my
Mhm.
wife because we worked together,
Okay.
but I knew how to talk to people. So
Well, you grew up
yeah,
in a time period where you had to have interaction, you know?
well, not just that, but I mean, I booked all my band's tours. I booked tours for other bands, so I had to like cold call clubs. I had to
Yeah.
send out press kits. I had to continuously be talking to people all the time. My wife kind of nags at me that I'm kind of like a woman on the phone, but it's like I know how to talk to
Yeah.
people, and I enjoy good
Oh,
conversation.
sorry, one sec. Do you have a fan going on or
I do
you're
not.
hitting your mic? Oh, I hear this does some tapping. I'm pretty sure you might be just hitting your mic.
Oh, well, I'm pretty much spaced. It might, my, it's probably my phone um
Sorry about that. You're fine.
buzzing. No, you're good. I'll move that for you. So it's a combination of things, but if you look at, I even saw a graph which was really interesting. It's like 70% of people met their spouses in church.
Yeah, I saw the
Like
same one.
you,
Yeah.
you saw the same. Wasn't that really interesting? Like
That's
just
crazy to think about.
yeah,
But what was the year starting? I think the year starting for it was like the 1930s, I
I
think.
think it was 40. I think it was
1940s all the way to
1940s.
2024. Most
Right.
people have met their spouse through church. And as people know now, if you even dabble in what girls are doing now, these women are not going to church. I'm just pointing out right now. If anyone thinks
No,
there's that delusion of like, oh, but these girls, no, they don't. It's like
no.
people believe in back in
No.
the day things that aren't even applying to now. I think the real problem is, man, people aren't updating their mindsets. They're still set in this mindset of something back in the day that has not been applied forever. I'm not talking about like trans and all that bullshit. I'm not change like that. But
Right.
people haven't been updating their actual mindsets in so long. They still think a thing that they thought back when they were maybe like 17 is still applying. It's like, no, the world has literally changed. Women have changed over time. Same with
Right.
men. Same with how people view things now. Things have changed. And I think people not updating their mindsets means that they're stuck in something that they can't even fathom what's going on. People can't even fathom the fact that women don't go to church anymore. They're like, I don't believe it. In my small town of like 4,000 people, it happens. It's like, oh, okay. All right. Yes, if we use anecdotal evidence like that, then we're going off nothing then, right?
Right.
Fucking
Well,
crazy.
and I'm not trying to even pull in politics, but going off with what you're saying, I believe the statistic is about 51 million churchgoers are not going to be voting or are not even registered to vote. So you can see where there's this huge disenfranchisement where, like you're saying, people aren't upgrading essentially how they interact with others.
Or how they even
And
get people into church. Like, you know how there's these ways of getting people into church? And the reason why
sure,
people don't really get into church most of the time is because of, well, they're thinking there's just a lot of rules. You know,
right,
that's like the average reason. Hey, I got to follow these rules. I don't like the people. You know, I don't want to have these duties and all that other stuff. Well, you know, it comes with the territory of growing someone to get them into church.
sure.
And then when someone gets into church, sometimes that might be the church for them. They don't actually synergize with the people there. They might not like the pastor. It could be a lot of reasons, honestly. You
Sure,
know?
sure, sure. But going and having that foundation is the start. Yes,
Oh yeah,
you're probably gonna go through a bunch of churches until you find the place that you're supposed to be.
yeah,
That's okay. There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that. And then on top of that, by going to all these different churches, you're meeting new people. When my wife and I moved to the town and the house that we live in, we went to a bunch of different churches. We didn't just go to the first church and say, "Okay, here we're here." We went to a bunch of different churches. We met a bunch of different people. We tried to understand what they were doing, understood the theology. I mean, I almost have a degree in theology, so
Okay.
I look at it in a little bit more of a different light than 99% of the population, right? Um, but we did our homework and we had fun meeting such great people.
Yeah,
Even if we weren't a fan of the church, right? Nothing wrong with that. You want to find a place where you connect because then you feel home.
yeah,
Just like with your friends who you get to pick and choose who you
yeah,
hang out with, you also get to pick and choose the church that you go to,
yeah.
you know?
Because
So, but
well, sometimes in churches it can feel very, how would I say this? Not clicky is the word. People can be very like in their own little small tribes, and sometimes it can't feel very homely to people like you said. And it's that comes with making connections. But I think the average person, even when they're going to church, has to understand this is just a life lesson in general. Not even just if you go to church. Some people
mm,
just aren't going to synergize very well. There's this thing in life where I had to learn growing up. Not everyone is going to get along. Not everyone is going to click with each other, and not everyone is going to end up forming any chemistry. But that's fine. That's completely fine. That's nothing. Maybe you both didn't do anything wrong. It just doesn't. Some things just aren't meant to happen. You know.
well, I mean, you're not going to be friends with everybody.
That's
You
true.
can you
Yeah.
can be nice to everybody. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that, but
Mhm.
you're not gonna click with everybody. I'm sure you've had interviews where it didn't click.
And then I
And
straight up said the internet was out and I left. I'm not gonna lie. If the internet went south and that person can't talk, I was out. I'm not sitting
but
there for an hour.
right, and even if the person's a good person, like, sometimes it just doesn't happen. It's
Yeah.
like dating, it's like everything else in
Mhm.
life with work or with whatever, and then, if we're talking about clicks, I mean, come on. We you People have been dealing with clicks since, elementary school.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so either you figure out a way to break through it. With men, I would say, listen, one of the best things you could do, work out, um, have a healthy lifestyle,
Yes. I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
buy a home,
Hmm.
build the life that you want
Hmm.
for the wife that you want. You
Yeah.
get all that stuff together first,
Hmm.
you're way better off, and you're way more attractive.
Yeah. Like, because the thing is, what a lot of guys is they're always thinking about like the end result of something when they haven't even put in the foundational work to even get to that end result.
Right.
And there's going to be weeks and days and paychecks where you feel like you can't do it, but as a guy, you just have to push through it and keep going. Honestly, and to be
Right.
fair, people have always said, "Isn't that kind of toxic?" That's just living life as a man. There's nothing really much you can do about it other than bitch and moan about it, but you still got to do it. You still got to. What are you going to do? Wake up and not go to work and have no money? What are you gonna do
Right.
about it? You have to do it. It's just what life is, honestly.
Right. Well, and it's not like I mean, I mean, look at, and I hate to bring this up, but look at the Jane Austen novels, right? Like those girls didn't go for the dudes that didn't have their shit together. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
they were in a place where you wanted to be with them. For
mhm,
not all of the stories, of course, but you get the idea. Like
yeah,
that is an attractive feature. If you're a healthy man, if you have a good job, if you have a home, and it looks good, you're taking care. Like if a woman knows that you can take care of yourself, that makes her more attractive because, then because she wants to. Hopefully, she's going to want to take care of you because you're taking care of the family. Um, and so but definitely, like if you want advice, people that are in the day, and then just start talking to people. Learn how to have a conversation, not on the phone, not
yeah,
on the computer or playing video games. Like actually go out and start
yeah,
talking to people, have conversations, and do it out of the blue, because that's a big thing. People don't want to go up to anybody and just talk to them out of nowhere, mostly because they're afraid.
yeah.
So
And that's the thing is you get better at forming connections and chemistry with people the more you do the conversation though. And you're gonna I still struggle with this too with women. But if I learned anything from doing this, you gotta going through the motions and trying to do it will improve you over time. Because then you'll know what works and what doesn't work.
well, and you'll learn how to understand body language. This is a lost art for a lot of people. Understanding body language can really make a huge world of difference when you're talking to somebody. You can see it in, however they act, if the conversation's going good or bad, or if that's a subject you should probably stay away from and you can veer to something else or something better. These are all little things that you pick up when you interact with people on a regular basis.
The other thing I'll ask you is because people know you as a content creator, but you're mostly a Rumble guy. You have a YouTube channel, but you're mostly through Rumble. What was your inspiration to be a content creator in general? Were you watching somebody and you were like, I got to do this, or you just had an aspiration to just like talk to people?
So I started on Twitch actually, which I still have an
Wow.
account. About 12 years ago. Over 12 years ago.
Oh wow, you were there when Twitch was first starting, because Twitch started in 2011. So you've been there for
Yeah.
like almost since the
I'm
beginning. Oh wow,
yeah, yeah.
damn,
Yeah. So
crap.
yeah, it's a long journey for people. And sometimes it's a long journey figuring out what you want to do. For me, I just I started streaming because, well, I'm playing a video game, so I might as well put something out there. Right. I mean, that was it.
That's true. Yeah.
That's where it started. Um, but I've worked on films. I've made music videos for bands. So after I retired, I was kind of I needed something creative to do because I've got kids, but I can't play music at the times that I'd want that I'm most in my like inspirational zone, which is
Oh yeah.
late at night, right? Um, so I said, well, you know what? I love editing. I love film editing. It's just a fun thing to do. So let's do that. So I started making fun videos just to edit for, just to be creative and have a good time. I had a few friends that suggested I should start streaming, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'll like really put myself into this. And I got to about 220 something followers on Twitch, and I got an invite to stream on Rumble. This was when you had to pay money to stream on Rumble, like $100 or what a month just to stream on
Oh yeah.
Rumble. So I'm pretty OG as far as like streaming goes, and then I was doing videos since the pandemic on Rumble as well. So I'd been there for a while, and then I just kind of said, you know what, I'm just gonna jump into this alternative tech, head first, and let all my other friends know how it goes.
Yeah.
And I did gaming streaming for a while. It was a lot of fun, had a great time. And then I had to make some adjustments in my life because I was streaming. I think I almost streamed for like 2 years without a day off.
I know the feeling. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So
Ah, gosh.
you know the drill. And so I
At
had to
first, I
make.
couldn't even get through a stream, but then I became so good at it, I would just have no days off. Some days I probably did like 3 streams to almost 5 streams a day.
Mhm.
Actually, God, that's and then you heard it at and you heard at work. You're like, man, I should probably take some time off. And then that doesn't happen. You never take time off.
No, no. Well, and see, I was working and
Yeah.
then coming home doing the family thing, and then when
Mhm,
everyone went to bed, I would stream. Now,
mhm,
not for long periods of time, but 2 to 3 hours.
mhm.
Getting maybe 4 to 6 hours of sleep a night for 2 years, I mean, that's fairly standard for a dad, but I coulda used that few extra hours,
Mhm.
but I had to make some changes, and, as much as I enjoyed streaming video games, one of the things that I developed on Twitch that I couldn't do on Rumble was I like to play story, driven games where
Mhm.
you get to make a choice. I basically call them like a good example of a newer game would be like The Quarry or Until Dawn, right?
Mhm.
Um, I like to call them bad life choice simulators because it's basically what they are.
Mhm.
However, I developed an idea where I let the chat actually decide what's going on. So I'm in there playing the game, but when anytime a decision comes up, pause. All right, guys, are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? Then the chat became more interactive and they became more invested into the story. When I
Mhm.
moved over to Rumble, I couldn't do that because the delay was like 30 seconds to a minute. So we're talking OG Twitch again too, with the time difference. Um, so I needed to switch. I switched to music. I started playing vinyl records from
Mhm.
beginning to end and started, telling the story of the album, how it came to be, where it was recorded, how it did on the billboard, stuff like that. And it just kind of started taking off. I didn't really expect anything of it, but it started doing good. And I'm almost 100 episodes into that now. And then I just added an afternoon radio show where I basically play music that I want to play. Or
Mhm.
what people request, but it's a more traditional radio show style, and I'm getting back into game now that Rumble's got low latency now coming in. I'm beta testing that, but
Mhm.
I really liked the freedom. I know a lot of people say they like the freedom of speech. Okay, and that's a great thing. Like I love it 100%.
Mhm.
What I found on Rumble is that I could build the community that I wanted. in the sense of I always want when people come to my shows, when people come to my streams, I want it to feel like the TV show Cheers. If you're new, everyone, you're family. Like, and that's how it is on my streams. When you come to my show, like your family, welcome. Come hang out with us. Let's have a conversation. People forget the worries of the days, the politics, the hard stuff
Yeah.
with their life, and they just come and hang out. It's like going to a barbecue, right? All your friends, and you know, even if you're new, you feel like you're the most welcome dude, or dudette in the world. And that's I couldn't really build that on Twitch. I didn't feel like I could. And here on Rumble, I was able to do that, and it just continues to grow. And so that ultimately was kind of my decision. That and I'll be honest with you, I make way more money on Rumble than I ever did with Twitch.
Yeah. Rumble has this system where they basically pay you out like YouTube originally used to, where you it didn't require you hitting like 1,500 subs. You just got paid if your videos passed the $100 threshold. Actually,
$50.
Yeah, back in the day it was $50.
Yeah, no, it's
sorry,
still 50. Oh, YouTube, yeah, okay.
Yeah, YouTube, they would pay you, I think, at like 50 or $100 or something. Rumble is for sure $50. You put enough content there, they pay you out instantly.
Yeah.
The thing I'll ask you about Rumble is, a lot of people have varying opinions on it. I actually do like what they're doing. I really do enjoy what the CEO's doing. I enjoy what the other guy, the one that does the tech fixing,
Rick Roselia, and
I love what he's
Mario.
doing. Yeah, and what is your opinion on their recent lawsuit that's going to be coming up probably soon after the election? You know how they announced that they're going to be potentially suing Google because they feel like that Google was hiding them in the search algorithm. Actually, I don't know if they've made any recent comments on that, but I remember that was going to be a big thing coming up very soon, which I think will be probably after the election, after they'll see what the landscape is. Because I would believe Google would suppress them. I don't believe why they wouldn't. They have a vetted interest in investing into YouTube to make sure YouTube is number one over this competitor.
Sure, but they're coming at it from a I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the lawsuit. I know Chris had posted something just in the last probably week, I think, an update or whatever on it that these were the grounds.
Will there be brisket? Brisket? I don't think I had a brisket in my entire life.
yeah, of course there'll be barbecue brisket.
Will there be black people there, Herman?
Yes.
Probably so. Everyone's welcome.
Hells to the yeah. But the grounds, and I understand. I think the lawsuits, even though Rumble is saying that yes, Google is suppressing their links, which they are, it's much bigger than that. Because you look at the political stuff, right? Anything that you look up for, let's say, a Republican, it's going to show up as negative. Democrat, it's going to show up positive. So there is some anti-competitive stuff going on there that shouldn't be there. Like the search should be neutral. Now, people want to pay for ad space on the search. I think that's more than fine, right? I use Brave, the browser, and their search engine, and I don't have any issues. So I try not to use the Googles and the Bings and all that stuff. And I found that Brave is just they're trying to build OG Google when it was just spitting out the facts, not what they want you. Now, I understand why Google is doing it, right? Like they own YouTube. They probably lose a lot of money because of YouTube.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that. They
have a biased multi-billion-dollar invested reason why they want YouTube to always be the biggest competitor on the planet.
100%. Yeah. 100%. So I understand that from like a business standpoint. I'm not but it's an important. I mean, I think there's lots of suits that need to be filed. Like here in my town, even on the small spectrum here in my town, like I'm apparently responsible for my sidewalk. Except I don't own that land, and so no, I'm not gonna clean weeds off the sidewalk I pay taxes for. That's your job. That's what I pay you for. I think in certain circumstances, there are things that in that regard, need better litigation. Not let's get sue happy. Let's actually figure this crap out because the law here is being squishy, Um, and I don't think that's a terrible thing, because the folks on the left don't have a problem with doing it, and the folks on the right are like generally they don't like to
Mhm.
go to court. I don't know why, I don't understand it, but that's at least that's what I'm seeing. And again, I'm not trying to be political, um, but the problem is if you break up Google, it's going to be run by the same people who
Yeah.
worked at Google.
Yeah.
So what's really going to change?
Mhm.
And I think that happened before. I think there was a tech company that owned a bunch of stuff and it got split up and nothing changed because the same people just went to the different places and they all worked together, perfectly. So like, what do I know there?
So, and to be fair, you mentioned earlier you do genuinely enjoy being on Rumble. Is there anything in your opinion that they should be doing to fix the platform to make it more like what people want out of YouTube?
I mean, there's lots of things that they can do.
Mhm.
The question is how patient are people willing to be? Now,
Yes.
I'll call out Rumble when it's bad. I don't have a problem doing that.
Yeah, and they're
But
not even gonna
but
silence you. They'll be like, okay, we understand your concerns, but it's not like a animosity thing. It's like, okay, you're probably right about this. We'll probably maybe fix it in a future update. You did it for YouTube. Your channel's getting suppressed. I guarantee that shit is not
right,
being on the homepage.
right. And then also we got to understand too that from Rumble's inception up until a few years ago, all it wanted to do was be a video platform. So live streaming wasn't a thing until what, 2.5 years ago. Like it wasn't. So if you look at where Rumble started 2.5 years ago at square one and where they're at now in a very small period of time, considering how long it took Twitch to get to where it was, YouTube to get to where it was, and I know YouTube's got a lot to work on too, right? Um, I think Rumble has done a huge amount. They still have a long way to go. It's a process, man. And then, you gotta have the manpower. I don't know that they have a lot of people behind, a lot of
Oh,
people are
sure.
working on
Yeah.
different progress, right?
Mhm.
So we don't know how many people are working there and what they're working on at any
Right.
given
Mhm.
time. Um, and so there and then listen, it's a it's coding. Coding, as easy as it comes for a lot of people, it still takes time. You got to try it out, you got to test it, you got to alpha test it, you got to make builds, you got to beta test it, and then once it gets out in the wild, you have no idea what it's going to do because you have a ton of people using it, and
Mhm.
it's just like a video game, right? People are going to find exploits, things are going to happen, bugs are going to come up that you know
Yeah.
um so I have no problem calling them out when it's warranted, and
Mhm.
at the same time I feel you got to praise them for when they do the right things.
Yeah, they have been making a
um,
lot of improvements. I think I guess a lot of people have been asking for like the whole smaller creator to get promoted thing too, and that's the problem too. Is when you have a platform like theirs, is how do you generate like giving certain smaller content creators like the homepage feature? Because if one person gets it, another person is like, well, I deserve to be there over that person, and it creates this like weird thing. So there's honestly no way to fix that because I know everyone's been talking about that generally, but there's no way to really honestly hammer that down because at a single point when you're doing this, one content is going to feel like, hey, I should have deserved this over him. Another person going to be like, I hate that this person got chosen. So, like, there's so many smaller content creators too. There's actually more smaller content creators and bigger content creators on a platform if you actually really think about the scope of how big these platforms are. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. The best thing that I can say about that is, I mean, you just keep working. Like, you first off, and you know this better than almost anybody. Like, you gotta grind. You
Yeah.
you have to figure out. It's just like music, man. It takes time. It takes years to get to that spot, and then quality. Quality is another thing, and the other things how you interact with the people in your channel. Um, And if you're doing your job, if you're doing good, those things will happen. if you organically start getting 100 people without ever being featured on a platform like Rumble, like there's something there, right? So you know, of course they're going to see that and go, okay, well, this guy's got 100 people every day or whatever, you know, organically showing up to his stream, no help. I was featured. I was featured, fully featured one time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people also don't understand. When you get featured, you have to be entertaining. Because
Oh yeah.
I've seen people that got featured, and they got like 75 people in the stream. You know, that doesn't help Rumble. Those people aren't staying. They're not spending their time on those channels that they're featuring, right?
Yes.
Um, so it's actually almost a godsend that you can really refine your voice and your show or your content, whatever you're doing, on a small scale, because those people are going to tell other people, and then more people are going to come along.
Yeah.
When I was featured, I held 3,000 people
That's
for
crazy.
3 hours. It was
Yeah,
easy.
that's the thing too. Is a lot of smaller creators don't understand. It's not even trying to be mean. Some of them
Mm,
are just not entertaining, and some of them are just not good. And by not good, it has nothing to against a person as an attack. It's just more like to entertain an audience to get them going. You have to give them a reason to be there. And if you're just kind of going by the motions, not really feeling like you want to be there, or you're tired or anything,
mhm.
it's just going to be a bad experience. Because Rumble has tried to help out some small creators a lot more than YouTube has. Rumble did the smaller creator partner program for some amount
Yeah.
of people you get in, they give you like $500 for doing it there a month, whatever. That's pretty good. I didn't get in twice, but you know, maybe the third time I'll get in if they ever do
I
it again.
so I don't think they're ever doing it again from what I've heard.
What happened
Um,
with
it,
it?
it just didn't do what they were hoping it would.
Yeah, that's the thing. You
But
know,
I mean, at least they're first off, at least they tried
was a
something.
try. Yeah, you
Like
know,
that was cool. Like I'm glad. Now I didn't get in the first time, and I guess a lot of people were really mad that I didn't get in. I just like, okay, whatever, it is what it is. I did get in the second time,
Mhm,
and it was an interesting month. So I love streaming. It's a ton of
mhm.
fun. I love doing it, right? But all of a sudden, it felt like a job, and that kind of changed the dynamic a little bit.
Was that a good or
Uh,
bad thing to you?
Bad. It felt like,
Okay.
and not to say that the program was bad, just it felt like it.
Mhm.
Uh, and when I'm just kind of doing it on my own, even if I have a set schedule, like it's the job I like to go to. This kind of had that feeling of it's the job I have to do.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so that changes the dynamic to, a lot. I honestly agree. Now, I had a fun time doing it. It was great.
Mhm.
And I might do it again if it ever came up, but
Yeah.
um, it's just something that people don't think about, I guess, right? And
Mhm.
then the other thing too is I know people got mad because certain people got picked and other people got picked.
Oh, that's gonna
And
happen. Yeah, that's gonna happen in
I mean
general. You know.
that's gonna happen. But I
Mhm.
looked at the questions, right? I
Yeah.
looked at what they were asking people, and there was that section like, if you got in the program, like, what would you do? Like, what was your plan? And I don't know what the stock answer would be. Like, well, I'm going to stream games and stuff like that, right?
That's gonna be people's base answers. I'll just stream like I normally do.
100%. 100%. And I got in there and I said, well, listen, if I get in the streaming program, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to do the show that I do. But what I'm also going to continue to do is encourage people to start streaming, encourage people to check out these other creators that are on the platform. And
Yeah.
I gave them almost a mission statement
Mhm.
both times. And they let me in on the second time, of course, because that's one of the things that I do on my show, and I don't know who does, if anyone else does
Mhm.
it, but I'm a big advocate of helping people that are small streamers, or like, hey, you come in and you spend time and you hang out with my family. We're gonna support you. We're gonna help you out. We're gonna go ahead and post your link on the chat. Like, let's get people following you. Let's help you out, because everyone has to start somewhere, and then having good people who want to help you get better
Mhm.
Because I think that's a really important thing is, again, asking chat, hey, what do you like? What do you don't like? How can I make this better? You got to
Yeah.
continually be working on yourself. A lot of people get, I think, really content about what they do and just kind of roll with it. Where it's like for me, it's after about 3 months of doing the same thing, I'm like, okay, how can I mix this up? Where can I change this? What can I do to spice this up? Or I gotta try new things.
Mhm.
If I don't, then I start to feel like I'm getting stagnant. And but again, that's part of me and just being a creative person, a musician, where it's you just always um, continually working on things. So
Yeah, and I tell people this all the time. Even if you go to Rumble and you're just over there doing the same thing you would be doing on YouTube, and you're like, "Well, no one's noticing me, and it's because Rumble is just smaller than YouTube." To be fair, it has nothing to do with that. You would experience the same thing on YouTube or Twitch or Kick anywhere you went. You have to build
yeah.
essentially doing this in a not like you said before, a grind mindset. It's not gonna you're
Mhm.
not just gonna be gifted followers. The only way that happens is that's like the literal luck of the draw. It's winning a lottery. You do like one video of streaming, you blow up. That's not gonna be everybody. Actually, it's gonna be 99% of not everybody. You're gonna be the person kind of
Yeah.
doing this like we do every day because you like doing it, and you're not doing it because you want it for that reason. You're just doing it because you just genuinely like doing it. You know, I tell people
Yeah.
all the time, and they never ever understand it. They're like, "You do it all the time?" Yeah, I do it because I genuinely like doing it. I'm not doing it for to get a job out of it. You know?
Right. Well, I think Adam. I was just on Adam's show last week. Carl of Dojima. Uh, it's a good friend. And I love that dude. But he says, listen, if you're making any little bit of money, you're better off than like half the streamers. If you make like $1, most people don't even get that. Think about the amount of streamers that are on Twitch, on YouTube, that are on Kick. They're not making money. So if you can stream and have fun and you can make a little bit of cash, like you know, you're in a whole separate category. And then if you can make enough money every month to maybe pay one bill, you're in a different stratosphere at that point, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, y- y- I think people think it's so easy to become viral. I know I've heard people talk about this, not just me. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? People think
Mhm.
it's so easy, and really,
Yeah.
it isn't. So, like, people don't realize I to do one record, I spend like 10 hours researching these albums, pulling up
Yeah.
articles,
Mhm.
because I first off, I don't trust Wikipedia.
Most people, yeah.
Most people would rely on that. I use Wikipedia
I only
because I
use
want to.
them for like specific things I know they're good at. I know they're decently good at tracking like box office numbers for movies, so I'll use them for like a
Right.
video like that. But like, I generally try to not use them. They're like the low tier shill media that
Sure.
I try not to use if I can go fully without using them. Honestly.
Sure, but you can, if for music, you can pull some good sources.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, it's, their music is fairly neutral to a degree. So,
Mhm.
um, I can pull some decent information, or I can get an idea and go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So yeah, I spend about 10 hours. I have copia. I mean, I've got like over 500 records. I have notes on 400 of them.
That's insane. Holy
You know,
crap.
so we're just talking before I even play a record on my record player, and then my setup time is fairly easy. It's only about 30 minutes, but I got to sound check the vinyl record player, I got a microphone, all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
Lighting and yada yada yada. Now, if I do a game stream, that means I have to switch my studio over. I have to move my camera from one place to another. I have to adjust, close up and all that stuff. And then I got a green
Yeah.
screen, so I got to deal with the lighting and the green screen. If I do a rock band night, which I do like once a month, that's like an hour and a half setup
Mhm.
before I even sit down and test sound volumes for the game, the microphone, if everything's in the place that I need to be able, because I play drums. So I have a drum kit with the cymbals, and I got to be able to mute myself in between songs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so, and then the tear down's another hour to tear it all down, put it all away, clean it all up, you know. So yeah, it can be a lot of work. and then the stream, like a Rock Band stream for me is like 3 to 4 hours long. So imagine playing drums for like 3-4 hours.
Mhm.
That's a workout.
And going to gaming now, because you do game streams, I assume you've been gaming since you were like a kid, I imagine,
Yeah,
or
yes.
teenager.
Yeah, I mean, I had a release, which I still have, but I have a release NES from,
Mhm.
back in the day, when it first came out. I got a launch console. I played some in when I was younger, but here's the thing, video games first off weren't what they were then.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
plus, at the same time, like we liked going outside as kids. I don't know how old you are, but
I'll be 30 this year.
30. Okay, so I'm 11. Like I'm 11 years, 12 years older than you, right? So I
Okay.
kind of grew up in that weird area where I was a young kid and a teenager where the internet was happening. So we still went
Mhm.
outside. We still,
Yeah.
like it was still come home when the lights go on.
Mhm.
And we'd go to the church, or like we'd go wherever there was a bunch of green grass and play football or ride bikes or skateboard. I skateboarded, go to friends' house and play music, and we did all kinds of fun, crazy stuff. In high
Mhm.
school, we used to play capture the flag at night. So we dress up in BDUs, like military BDUs, and then
Mhm.
buy glow sticks, and those would be the flags. We'd go to crazy long parks, and we'd have capture the flag matches till like God knows when in the morning. And the internet wasn't that huge of a thing; like it was still new.
Mhm.
And video games were, I think, things kind of started changing maybe in the PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64 era, where it started slowly getting a little bit more mainstream, but it was still fairly niche, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't think it was probably a lot of people got into it my age, I think, a little later, like I did, near the tail end of my music career. Now I still wasn't playing. I didn't really get super into video games until I was retired from music, and I had a Wii and a PS3, and then I went to Guitar Hero and Rock Band. So
Mhm.
like, and then just kind of went from there. Um, as far as playing games go, but I have great memories of old games growing up on like the
Mhm.
NES. Dragon Warrior, which is now Dragon Quest. Um, uh, you know, like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, the game. Some
Yes.
of the stuff
Mhm.
which is super. I've always liked really weird, super underrated games.
Mhm.
On the Super Nintendo, Secret of Mana was one of my favorites. ActRaiser. Gosh, I'm trying to think. It's been kind of a long time since I thought about Super Nintendo games. And I had a Sega too, so like on Super Nintendo, I'd play like RPGs and stuff, and then
Mhm.
on the Sega, I played sports games because Sega was way better
Mhm.
for like graphically for sports
Yeah.
games. So like World Series baseball, love that game. With the exception of Ken Griffey Jr. baseball on the Super NES, like that's you can't go wrong with that game. And like NBA Live,
Yeah.
I played a lot of that, and then Madden and college, even though they're the same game, just different cover and no names. So yeah, Joe Montana and college football. I played those two games. I actually was never a bit. I never really played Madden. Um, and
So,
then I dip in.
mhm.
I would just dip in. So I had a
Mhm.
64. I didn't have a GameCube. I didn't have a Dreamcast. Uh, I had a PlayStation 1 for a while, but I was working an overnight job where I could play games. So
Okay.
I needed something to do. So okay, I booted up Final Fantasy 7 and NBA Live 99 or 98. I can't remember what year it was, but um, and then yeah, I didn't. I picked it up a little bit for Knights of the Old Republic and Fable. So I got an Xbox for those two games
Mhm.
with my roommate because he wanted to play the Splinter Cell games, and so he was into that. So yeah, we kind of shared that, and then like I said, that's kind of where I am with game. But I mean, I have like 800 PlayStation games, and so
Crazy. So, were you
yeah.
more of a PlayStation guy over an Xbox guy, actually, you would say? Or do you just like all of them?
I mean, I have my preferences, but I
Mhm.
also own all of them. So I have a Switch, I have a Series X, and I have a
Okay.
PS5.
So I'll ask you
Um,
this: since you've been starting with gaming throughout, well, for a very long time,
yeah,
it must be so jarring looking at where gaming's at now, even for myself too. Because like a lot of this drama that people have with gaming, I'll be honest here, until I got on the internet, I didn't even know it existed. Like I didn't even know what Gamergate was till like recently. I was like, what the fuck's a Gamergate? I just bought games and I just fucking played them. I don't know what all
right.
that drama was. I feel like I love when people call out bullshit with gaming companies now recently. I
Sure.
find it great. But there is this thing now with gaming where it's so much different now than it used to be. Microtransactions, DLC. We know back in the day, you bought a completed game, you put that shit in there, and it just played. Now you buy a game, you make an account, it could be glitchy and all that other
Yeah.
bullshit. It's just so much stuff, man. Oh god.
So I never had an issue with DLC. Now,
Yeah.
here's the thing though.
Mhm.
Uh, on PC, you bought expansions. That's
That's true.
downloadable content, right?
Yeah.
So, like, and I never understood why people didn't make that connect. They just didn't make that connection.
Mhm.
So I never had an issue with that. Now, I don't care about microtransactions. My thing
Mhm.
is, if you don't like them, don't buy them, right? Like,
It's pretty fair, yeah.
you know, my biggest issue with when it comes to games is a live service. How about that?
Mhm.
I hate the FOMO. The FOMO part is the part that I think is stupid. Um, I'm not a huge like Halo multiplayer guy. I'm not really a huge multiplayer guy. To be fair, like it's
Mhm.
just not my. Some people love it, some people don't. It's just not my thing. It can be fun too. So the one thing that the Master Chief or no, the new Halo game did, Guardians, right? That's the newest one.
Mhm.
You could buy any season at any time and come back to it and finish the season pass.
Mhm.
That to me is I like that because then I don't have to worry. I can finish it at my own. I've got kids. I
Oh, sure.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've got to stream. I can't be on the grind. You know what I'm saying? Like all the time. Like I've got to
Mhm.
pick and choose what I do. I think that's more like I think people would be more willing to purchase things like a season pass if they knew they can go back to it at a later date. I,
Yeah.
th- because then it's just like, okay, do I want to invest into the cosmetic stuff? Are they cool enough?
Yeah.
The other thing is that if you're going to do a season pass, you need to put enough premium currency or whatever to pay for the next season pass.
True. Yeah. Because
I,
that's
I,
how it
I
feels like with Microsoft now. It just feels like Microsoft is just the Game Pass company when it comes to their consoles now. It's Game
so,
Pass this, Game Pass that, you know?
well, that's the thing that so game as nice as Game Pass is for a lot of people. Like, let's be fair, it's nice.
It's pretty good,
Eh,
actually. I'm not gonna
It
lie. It's pretty
no
good.
no it's super nice, but people aren't buying games. People, you can't.
Yeah.
It's a very hard to sustain that model. I mean,
Mhm.
Game Pass is going to get more expensive. They're going to up the price of that again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Year on out, just like streaming services, they update their prices like every year essentially now. Yeah.
Yep. So, I don't know, especially with their first party games,
Mhm.
minus them going multi-console, which I mean, honestly, it would be the best thing for them. If they went multi-console with all of their, which they honestly, first off, anything from Bethesda, anything from Activision, studios that have already been predominantly making games on other consoles, they
Mhm.
should never have said, no, we're going to stop that. Like that was the dumbest thing they did when they bought Bethesda and said, we're not going to have Bethesda games on other
Yeah.
consoles. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? You're throwing away money. Are you, you know,
Herman says there has been a growing movement going back to physical. Yeah, there was that big thing that GameStop announced. So they're gonna open up locations for
Mhm.
like the back back in physical media. There's gonna be mostly a physical media store. And to be fair, there's already places that do that. But it goes to show you that the
Mhm.
modern gaming sales are so down that GameStop realized, wait a minute, we could just make money off shit in the past. It's like
Well,
that goes to show you how bad things are. People realize I must go to the past to get my actual gaming experience than what I'm playing currently. That is
well,
bad, honestly.
I used to work for GameStop.
Oh shit, you were the guy that had you were the GameStop guy where you basically try to get the customers the subscription to the magazine, the membership and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Did you have any
yeah.
horror stories from working there?
Oh, I got tons of horror stories, but I was a good I was a good employee. I was the employee that corporate hated because the customers liked me because I wouldn't put up with corporate's crap about pushing credit cards and stuff like that. Like that wasn't me. I didn't push pre-orders. I asked people what they were interested in. And I'll tell you, let me finish this point
You're
real
fine.
quick. So before I left, GameStop was telling people, "Hey, give us your old games," because they were trying to build a collection. When I worked at GameStop, when it switched from PS3 to PS4, I can't tell you, and same thing with the 360 to the Xbox, the One X. We threw away thousands of video games in the dumpster. Thousands of PS3 and 360 games.
No way.
Yeah.
Really? For inventory you couldn't sell because it was just
To
not in
to m-
style.
to make space for
You're pretty sure that stings now, probably.
yeah, I mean we're talking about like unopened copies of like Japanese RPGs
Yes.
that
Yeah.
are super hard to get get
Yeah.
nowadays, gone in the dumpster, like
Mhm.
ET for Atari. Um,
Uh,
so
good old corporations.
they could have set themselves up by telling the stores, just send it back to
Mhm.
us. We're going to keep it in a warehouse and we're going to come back to it later.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, and Herman brought up physical media. The thing is that you can go to a GameStop and you can buy a Xbox One game, you can or a Series X game or a PS5 game, but 9 times out of 10 that game is not on the disc.
Yes.
That is just the disc is basically there to say this guy, can use this game. So you still don't even own the physical games that you buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what's that Jedi Survivor, the new Star Wars game? Like,
Yeah.
not even a quarter of that game is on the disc. The rest you had to download
Is Jedi Survivor or
anything.
Outlaws? It might be
eh,
one of them. Yeah, you're right.
Well,
Yeah.
no, not the Ubisoft game, the EA, the
Oh,
EA
now you're
one.
talking about. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. Right. Anything on the Xbox One and the Series XS, um, the disc is just the cog in the machine to download the game.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because remember the whole thing with the Xbox One is it was this digital media console.
Yeah. The
It
ultimate home media console, as they build
honestly,
it.
that thing was awesome because I could no, here's what I did. This one summer I was up in Lake Tahoe building.
Mhm.
I was working on building the thing. I could set up my Xbox One,
Mhm.
connect my PS4 to it. I
Mhm.
could play my PS4 games and then watch a DVD or a Blu-ray on the Xbox with the little side screen. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like little stuff like that. I thought, like, this is cool. I understand why people rejected it. First off, the whole digital, you have to be always online. Like, that's not going to cut it. It doesn't matter. It's still all online.
Mhm.
Everyone bitched about it, but it still happened. It's still there,
Yeah.
So you don't own your digital copies. You
Yeah. And
just
California made that rule too for Steam, where they told Steam. To be fair, it's also a good thing. It's one of the only California W's Gavin Newsom's had in forever, maybe in his whole career, honestly, because he's complete trash. Where he was like, "Hey, let the consumers know that what they're buying they don't own." Now they're fully telling you don't own your digital goods,
right.
right?
Well, and that's the same thing with music. I mean, I don't know the whole law. I hope that applies to music and film as well.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because you don't own your digital copies. Okay, well, I take that back. There are some ways. So, a lot of bands, when you buy their vinyl, comes with
Hmm.
a digital download code,
Yeah.
and they say that you own that
Hmm.
digitally as well. So you
Hmm.
can do whatever you want with it. You can
Hmm.
transfer it wherever you go. But for the most part, if you buy something from Apple iTunes, they can remove that. at a
PlayStation
moment's
did that earlier this year. They removed a bunch of content people bought off the PlayStation Store.
Mhm.
So essentially, they just scammed you out of all your money. For if you
Mm.
bought things, they just took them away from you. Like
Yeah.
they can legally scam you, and there's nothing you can do about it because you didn't
Or
own it,
and
honestly.
right, Microsoft has done it, and Nintendo has done it as
Yeah,
well. You know,
yeah. Well, what's it saying? You will own nothing and be happy, something like that. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. You will live in the pods, and
Uh,
you'll basically be connected like the Matrix. I think Tim Pool Tim Pool show always has that running gag where you're basically going to be living in the Matrix in a pod, eating bugs, playing video games.
or even with physical media, this year, because it was announced earlier last year in summer that Best Buy and Target were going to be removing like a lot of their physical media sections. Now, the only thing that I will say to that for people is like, have you went to some of these places? And people keep saying like, buy physical media, buy physical media. Those places, when they were physical media based, they were completely stocked all the time. It wasn't like things were like constantly selling out. You know,
No.
I think people kind of weirdly overrate things and underrate things when it comes to like the internet. Because I live in California. I have a big state. I go to certain different Walmarts and Targets and all places. Those places weren't always selling out of physical media. That's just a lie that people keep saying. I don't know why people just lie for the sake of lying. Or maybe it's just this area is different and other areas are different. That's very possible as well.
So well, I mean, I'm a California native as well. I was born there.
Yeah.
I served 25 years. I did my time. I got out.
Oh no. Oh, man, talking about no man. He left me just like my dad.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry, man. But I come to visit rarely. But I still have family that live like almost my whole family heritage is from is in California, Central California. So, but Nintendo actually now. You want to talk about horror stories, and one of the things that so I and Nintendo hates their fans. They hate the people that buy their products, and I stand by that. Anytime, very rarely would I ever encourage people to pre-order games, but anytime a Nintendo fan came in, I was like, listen, you need to pre-order. If it's a direct Nintendo game, if it's Pokemon, if it's Mario Brothers, if it's an amiibo, or if it's a controller, or if it's
Right.
whatever, you need to pre-order it because Nintendo makes scarcity. They fake scarcity for the purpose because Nintendo is still to this day scared of turning out to be Atari.
Mm-hmm.
So, and nobody believed me like when Pokemon when the 3DS Pokemons first came out, what was it? The blue and the red, but they called it something else, Emerald and Ruby or something. I can't remember what they called it.
Which one for the DS? The DS was the
No,
time they had Diamond and Pearl. I remember that.
No, the 3DS.
The
first
3DS
big one.
had Heart of Gold and Soul Silver, I think, right? The remakes, I think.
I don't remember. Yeah, I think they had red and blue. I think they had red and blue as well. I think red and blue were the first ones. So I told people like, listen, pre-order it because if you don't, you're not getting it. And nobody believed me. 12 people ordered the blue, 3 people ordered the red, and then we had a line of like 60 people that morning to buy the game. Well, Nintendo sent us 2 copies of blue and 1 copy of red. And like our entire area was sold out. And I'm talking Walmarts and Targets and Best Buys for like 3 months before the next stock came in, and then it sold out in a heartbeat. And Nintendo only sent us like 5 and 3 copies.
Yeah.
The next time. So Nintendo purposely does that. Maybe not so much anymore. I don't know. But I live in a
recent thing they had was Power World. Remember they tried suing Power World for this whole patent thing that they just had basically started going before that happened. I know the Power World recent lawsuit. What else have they done recently that I remember? Oh, people are just begging for the Switch 2. That's like the most biggest thing they have currently.
Yeah. I mean, I have a Switch. I can't really play it because I have carpal tunnel and arthritis. And
oh my god, you're like old. Holy shit.
Well, it's because all the time I played guitar.
Oh yeah,
and bass, and so I that's why I can't play PC games because like I'm dead. Yeah, I'm dead when it comes to
your hand will just be stiff.
I can get away with playing games like Age of Empires. Civilization's not really my thing, but I could play that type of game, right? Because it's really easy. I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm not clicking a whole lot. It's just using cheat codes, pulling out the convertible, and then blowing up, armies because that's fun. But yeah, so Nintendo just artificially makes less copies of their game and their products, and so I that was a big thing for me. I wanted people to get the games they wanted.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, because then people are gonna be complaining at you because like they'll come in and be like, "Why do you have this game?" And it's like there's nothing you can do if the freaking developer doesn't send you the game.
Right. Well, they still did it. They still did complain. But
oh yeah.
like my managers hated me because I was one of those guys. Like I knew what Walmart had in stock, and we were right next to a Walmart. One of my closest friends at the time worked at the one and only retro game store, and they sold used games. So I knew what they had in stock and what their prices were. And so somebody came in. I can remember somebody came in. They wanted Left 4 Dead 2. There was no new copy. Yeah, right. Great game. No new copies available. We had used copies for $50 if you weren't a pro member, $44 if you were a pro member, right? And I said, listen, guys, just go to Walmart. It's a brand new Game of the Year edition. It's $20. Just go. Like, don't buy it from us. Like you're getting ripped off. But my customers were cool. They're like, "But you're actually telling me the truth?" I'm like, "Look on my phone here. I'll pull it up for you." Before Walmart had an app, but you could still look up stuff, right? And people would just buy the game from them because they would rather buy it from somebody that they trusted than, I guess, walk not 10 feet, but like half a mile to Walmart, which was literally just across the street, and save $30. But I'm more of a conscious gamer, I guess, when it comes to prices of stuff. So, so that was my thing. I never tried to shill the game protection except for on Xbox 360 games because I knew most of the people that played the used that like turned in an Xbox game. Xbox discs, like they just didn't have the durability of the Blu-rays that Sony had, and then most of the people just didn't take care of them. And then Xbox 360s were notorious for scratching discs a lot.
That was the biggest. People like to always reminisce about all the good times, but they never ever once bring up bad things that would happen. Like, I agree, physical media is awesome, and I love my physical media, obviously, as you can see, and I have plenty of more physical media stuff that is in my part of my house. But disc scratches constantly, messed up discs, broken discs. A bunch of things would happen with them damn things. I can understand why the industry would move away from it from a business point of view. Like, the only one that's doing disc currently is Sony, and let's be honest here, I imagine Xbox might move away from it if they do another generation console because essentially, from what I heard, you have to basically pay someone to make the disc, right?
Yeah, it's manufacturing.
And you have to basically hire people to put the content on the disc. Then you have to make thousands of copies of said disc and then hope that you make enough money selling thousands of copies of said disc. They want to remove the middleman and just do it all digital, which makes sense. It makes pure sense from a business point of view. You want to cut that middleman out, right?
Sure.
But all things digital mean you don't own your content, which is the problem with that, Right. And they don't offer enough storage space on the console for a bunch of games that take up more gigabyte space for what you need.
Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that Arkham Trilogy over there game I bought for my Switch, that thing takes 50 gigs. The average Switch, the base one, has 32 gigs. You have to basically get an SD card to play the game, actually.
Right. God, well, here's my other really big issue with digital media. You can go to GameStop and you can buy Call of Duty for $70, right? And it's got the manufacturing, it's got the disc, it's got the case. They used to have little inserts of cool stuff, instruction manual. Or you can go buy it digitally for the same price. If you're selling something digitally and there's no middleman, there's no need for it to be $70. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like that is my biggest issue. That is the issue that I'm surprised nobody brings up. Why are we paying more for a digital copy of a game where you don't have to pay the price of the manufacturing and then the shipping and then the storefront, because you got to pay for the storefront space too, right?
Yeah, you have to pay for the shelf space for like a Best Buy to hold that product in the store because no one's gonna hold your shit for free.
Right, and then you got right, and then you got the insurance too. on
Yes, yes.
on the shipping, because of course you're going to buy insurance for that, right?
Hmm.
And then you're going to have to be ready to take less when they don't sell out,
Yeah.
right? So why are we okay with paying more for a digital game when there's less risk involved
Yes,
from
because
the
that's the benefit of
developers?
digital, because there's less risk involved based off everything you said. Where this, there's all these other factors that have to play in and manufacturing costs. And
Sure.
the thing is, even when you get it, you're not getting anything special. Like, what was the last thing you bought that was a pre-order that you're like, oh, this is something special I'm getting for this bundle pack? You know, there used to be all these packs and bundles. They still do now,
Yeah.
but they're not as lucrative and interesting to buy like it used to
Well,
be.
well, here's the thing too, though, with those physical packs, they're not even giving you the game,
Yeah.
right? Or if
Yeah.
they are, or if they are, it's a digital code.
Oh God,
So
man.
you're
Early access, as they call it these
well,
days.
no, not even that. Like, you can get a collector's bundle of,
Mhm,
such and such game, right? And you get this
mhm.
action figure and a statue and commemorative cards and stickers and the soundtrack and maybe a naked prostitute and a steel case. And then in the steel, you open up the steel case. There's no game.
Mhm,
I think God of War didn't have a game. The last God of War,
mhm.
it didn't have a game. It didn't even have a digital copy of the game. You were just paying for the collector's stuff. You didn't even get a game. I could be wrong, and if I am, but I know there have been a few games where they didn't
Or
even
just
include the game.
recently with Star Wars Outlaw, if you bought that game, they said it came corrupted on some people's games where you had to basically restart the entire thing. So if you beat that game
Right.
in a day, you have to restart the entire thing.
Yep.
That's crazy, honestly, you know?
It is. Yeah, that's rough. That's an Ubisoft thing, though. To be fair to everyone, like, listen, if you're buying an Ubisoft game at launch,
And as we know now, they're potentially
yeah,
trying to sell their company because they're not
you know,
making enough money on their games anymore. It kind of,
the
yeah.
the last time I will say I bought Assassin's Creed Mirage, I pre-ordered
Mhm.
that. Except I knew that it was just a standalone game. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, that felt like a very low risk game. Star Wars, nah, I wasn't gonna buy that. Right? Nah, no, nope. I wasn't gonna. I mean, I'll probably get it eventually just to play it because I love games that are terrible. I'm a big fan of terrible games because I tend to like them
Oh,
because I'm just I'm
Sonic
just
06.
I'm just happy to Two
Mhm,
Worlds 2 is one of my
mhm,
favorite games, and that's a notoriously terrible game in
mhm,
every conceivable way.
mhm.
I highly recommend you play it. I
Oh,
liked
you shouldn't see
Fear.
me suffer.
No, no. I think it's a really good game. Like the game has all these great things that it wanted to
Yeah.
do, and it just didn't get to do it, or it did it, and it just, it doesn't. It's not that it sucks. It's just that
Yeah.
they needed more money. Um, like, I like the Suda 51 games are really good examples of,
Mhm,
like, kind of terrible games that are really good,
mhm.
like Shadows of the Damned and Lollipop Chainsaw and Killer
Yeah.
6. Like, I like those games. Are they terrible? Yeah, 100%.
Dude,
But
those
they're so
superhero
much
tie-in
fun.
games were always bad. The superhero tie-in
Oh,
games were always bad. There's anything that has to do with like a
100%.
movie tie-in game is bad.
Yeah,
Like
the Captain America
oh my
tie-in
god.
game, that one was so much fun. I love that game. It's fantastic. I don't care. That's a hill I will die on. I had so much fun with that. I even got the platinum for that. And I think I got the 1,000 gamer score too on Xbox. It's a terrible game. I totally loved it. But I come at things in, I guess, in a different, I don't know. I try to come at things at a different perspective. But I've been bummed out by games tons of times. I think we all have, and it
Yeah.
sucks when it happens. I try to come in with games with, like, super low expectations, and
That's the thing I do with movies too. Like even if I hear a movie's bad, I still want to go and obviously check it out for myself. But
yeah,
try to maybe look at like why people didn't like it, you know?
I mean, there are some movies that are just really bad, like
Yeah, Jack and Jill.
Ghostbusters 16.
You think I
That was
watched that?
no, well, no, you didn't have to. You knew that was bad. That's
Oh,
the
no, no,
problem.
no. I have a funny story. When I went and saw Civil War opening Thursday night for
Mm,
more MCU, the trailer played. It ended, and a guy stood up and was like, "What the fuck is this shit?" Like literally yelled it out, and everyone laughed. And I was like, I watched it, and I was like, not watching that. Sure, I was like, I ain't watching that shit. God, that looked ass from the trailers.
Civil War was great.
I like more a lot.
I like that movie. I'm disappointed we didn't get to see the version that he wanted to make. Because if you remember, the original map that he had released was totally different.
Yeah, they're supposed to include like Hulk and Thor, but they didn't get them in for reasons. Samuel Jackson was supposed to be in Nick Fury, but reasons he was filming something else.
Those movies were still fun. It was, I think. I don't know when the drop off was, but it's the same thing with comic books. I stopped reading comic books. I think I told you like around the first 1 or 2 issues of the Extinction event for X-Men. So that was quite a while ago. But I really got out of comic books because I kind of saw the writing on the wall.
You remember what year that was?
I can look it up for you if you want.
Early 2000s, was it 80s, 90s?
No, that was let's see, X-Men Extinct, because that was with Mr. Sinister. If I there is an Extinction Agenda, and that was in the 90s. You're not wrong. Like you're not wrong there.
I vaguely remember that being an X-Men thing because my comic history is a little bit weird. But I remember having to go and read about some of these stories online because I had no fucking money, so I couldn't buy books, honestly. But I remember because when you said Extinction, I thought you meant Annihilation, which was another Marvel story years down the line.
Oh yeah, no, the Annihilation that's all the Annihilation series is all in space. Annihilation series was fantastic. Oh my god, what a great run of comic books.
They don't make them like they used to,
And Andy Lanning and those guys, because it was fucking great, man. I still have those in hardbound and in single issue form. I saw the writing on the wall the moment that Grant Morrison ended his run on X-Men. And when Marvel basically gave him the middle finger. Because to me, his run on X-Men is the best. I think it's the best run of X-Men comics ever.
You like him more than people's favorites usually Chris Claremont, but you like Grant Morrison's run over Chris Claremont.
And by the way, I grew up with Claremont. Yeah, Claremont has too much exposition. My issue with Claremont is that when he has a yellow bar that explains the situation, and then Cyclops in his talking bubble also explains the situation like you're an idiot.
Yeah,
I had to watch my language there for a second.
To be fair, you're not wrong. He did that recently. He had Wolverine #1 deep cut. He does the inner monologue thing, right? Where characters inner monologue to narrate the story, even though the story is narrating itself because you're flipping page to page. Yeah, still doing it. Nothing's changed. Damn, Claremont.
For a little while there, he did stop that, but. So that's not, and I don't want to take away from the incredible stories that Claremont wrote, because Dark Phoenix Saga was, obviously Days of Future Past.
Oh, for sure.
The All New, All Different, like that 70s, that was it 75 through, well, at least 75 through 80 is phenomenal Claremont run, right? The thing is that reading Morrison, and I know a lot of people didn't like Frank Quietly's artwork. It's very unique, right? I know a lot of people didn't like Quietly's artwork on the Superman run that him and the two of them did too. I like Quietly's artwork in that run because it's so unsettling. The story is supposed to be unsettling, right? The character of Zorn, like one of the few times where I'm like, whoa, I did not see that coming. And I really liked Zorn as a character too, right?
That's what Quicksilver said too in Avengers 2 when he died. Damn, didn't see that one coming. Speedster getting killed by bullets. That is wild.
And that whole issue that they didn't write any words. It
Yeah.
was all faces, and
Mhm.
Cassandra Nova was a phenomenal character. The triplets,
Mm.
oh, dude, those triplets are bitches, but they're crazy, right? I mean, like the
Yeah.
whole thing, like
Mhm.
the characters I mean, he essentially, if you think about it, Morrison in that run brought back the heart and soul of what X Factor was originally supposed to be, which was young mutants, young kids, right?
Mhm.
And bring that back into the fold. They brought the teaching part. They made fun of the movies with the leather, you know, and I know, well, they didn't make fun of it. Like he updated it and casted, or what's it, Josh Whedon later made fun of it, but he made the leathers work. Like he changed iconic uniforms. Because let's be honest, those 90s uniforms that the X-Men wore are really considered iconic, right?
Yeah.
Cyclops and Jean Grey and all that.
You don't like your black
And,
leather?
yeah, no, he made Wolverine more badass than he had been in a long time.
Mhm.
And it always felt like the stakes were on the line in that run. And when he killed, spoiler alert, it's been almost 20 years, but when he killed Jean Grey, I was like, there's no way you can bring her back. I didn't even want Marvel to bring her back. Like, that was the perfect ending. Like, leave it there. Like, Wolverine and her had their moment. It was beautiful. It was so well, wonderfully written. And then, like, literally the next issue, like, Marvel's like, bam, thank God you're gone. And it just kills me. But I love that run, that Grant Morrison run. What is it? The other uh, who did that Daredevil run with Alex Maleev and Brian Michael Bendis, and his run of Daredevil after Kevin Smith wrote that 7-issue arc to kick off the new Daredevil. And Brian Michael Bendis and Maleev did all that beautiful, so many amazing stories up until oh god, it's gonna bug me that I can't remember his name, because he also took over Captain America and did a great run too. But that Daredevil run's one of my favorite runs of comic books too. The story, the artwork, putting Daredevil in places he'd never been before. Yeah, man, it was so awesome. It was so good. Like, I think that was peak comic books at that time. I was even reading G.I. Joe, and it was damn good. So sorry, I don't mean to keep rambling on.
Oh no, it's fine. I'll just bring up a point to your GI Joe thing. Those original GI Joe comics that were basically out of print, and basically you'd have to go and hunt back issues or buy them off eBay for some exuberant prices. They
Right.
reprinted all of that stuff in a new compendium recently, issues 1 through 60, I think. Actually, I know they ran a Kickstarter on them too. GI Joe's been something I've never been that interested in. I have stuff for the new GI Joe Skybound run with Duke, Cobra Commander, and the
So,
other stuff currently.
so the GI Joe run that I'm referring to was, I believe, IDW, when they were still fairly new into the game.
Oof.
Yeah, and it was written it was written more like a spy, um like a spy thriller. Right? It was really good. It was really, but that was the thing. Like, there were some incredible comic. I mean, some of my favorite from the time, um, like, I mean, we had the Runaways. The Runaways. When I read that, I kind of started to see the writing on the wall, like the kind of PC culture. I was
Mhm.
like, well, I can see what's creeping in.
Mhm.
Warren Ellis did this phenomenal run. I'm trying to think of the uh it's neck oh man, it's Agents of Hate. Warren Ellis is really weird, right?
Mhm.
But Next Wave Agents of Hate. Just an absolutely off the freaking wall comic book. 12 issues. It only lasted 12 issues. I can't tell you how much I laughed. That comic book made me laugh more than any other comic book in the world. I highly recommend reading it. It's 12 issues. It's
Mhm.
phenomenal. And it's got all these characters that nobody cared about at the time. And Marvel just let him go to town, surprisingly. like super surprisingly. I didn't expect that. You got stuff like the Irredeemable Ant-Man. You got some random Ant-Man doing basically everything that you would do as Ant-Man if you had the Ant-Man suit. He did, like sneaking into Mrs. Marvel's shower.
God, man. You know what was
um,
crazy about comics back when those were happening was that the enthusiasm was so just through the roof for them. Now for comics, I don't know if you've been keeping up with anything comic culture recently or many years back.
no,
It's
because
so
it's all
hard to get people
garbage.
interested in. It's so hard to get people interested in stuff. Like even if you tell people stuff is good, they just don't believe you. They think you're actually selling them a plate of shit, even though you might be telling the truth. Honestly, you know.
I mean, well, watching what's happened in the last 10 years to Marvel and DC, yeah. I mean, basically, that's that's what you're selling them. I very much so would say read comics up to, that era of comic books,
Mhm.
and and then either stop or go to some of the more underground, like Criminal was a good series. I mean, man, I can't believe they shut down Vertigo comic books. That killed me because Vertigo was,
Mhm.
librarians liked Vertigo comic books.
Were you around when Image Comics became the thing with
I
Jim Lee and
never
everyone?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I was a kid. I never got into Image Comics.
Oh, okay. So you never read like Savage Dragon and Young Blood and all that
No,
stuff.
I read that. I read that as a
Okay.
kid. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Because
I still got Savage Dragon comic books. I just never got into it. I didn't like them.
yeah.
Um, Maybe going back, I might. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing with music, right? That's what I've been doing, is going back and listening to all the bands I hated growing up and going, "Oh,
Trying to find some gems in there.
I'm like, I actually like these guys now," so, maybe I do need to go back and check those out. Again, though, comic books, even in the 90s, in that heyday, they were still doing the Chris Claremont exposition, and I mean, like, you're setting up the scene in the picture, and then you're explaining the scene with somebody talking, and that was very much the industry standard. And I don't think I honestly I believe Grant Morrison, through his work, by the way, at DC and Vertigo, before signing that exclusive contract with Marvel for this, period of time, 3 years. Him and Ed Brubaker and Brian Michael Bendis got Jason Aaron, when Jason Aaron was really edgy, by the way. Now I know he's not so much anymore. Um, Bill Willington, who did Fables,
Oh, he
Constantine.
recently had a big falling out with DC. I forgot the exact reasons, but he hated what they were doing with him or royalties or something. So he fought to make sure the fables are like public domain. And I'm pretty sure you heard recently, DC and Marvel don't own the exclusive say the word superhero because they actually patent the word superhero or
Right.
copyrighted it. They just lost the copyrighted time expired on the word superhero. And apparently Batman and Superman are going to go into public domain, but it's not going to be the way people think. It's only just based off of like smaller stuff from when they were first introduced.
It's that era. So
So like Leap
like
and
with
Single Bound and stuff that like stuff like that.
right. But well, just like with Mickey, right? It's
Mhm.
Steamboat Willie era Mickey. So
Yes.
you can parody any of that. That's
Mhm.
public domain. And it's just gonna be a matter of time until all of that stuff
Mhm.
is just public domain, and they're hosed. There's nothing they can do about it. But yeah, I liked what Bill did. First off, Fables is a phenomenal. Again, one of those things that I would recommend people read, because
Yeah, I haven't read it yet, so I'll go get and read it.
the
I have a
thing
problem with that.
the thing that Bill did that I really enjoyed is that when he is using a fable character, like let's say Pinocchio or whatever, he still tries to keep that particular character within the realm of the original writer's intent to a degree, right? So if they spoke a certain way, those kinds of things. Although Pinocchio is forever a teenage boy that doesn't go through puberty. And they actually talk about that in the very first issue. He complains that his balls are never going to drop. But William, I believe he respected the original writer's intents of the characters, and just put it in a different setting, a different era. And I thought it was great. It's just like what's that? The Seth Graham Smith when he wrote Jane, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. All he did was take Jane Austen's words and then add more to it. That's all he did. So you're basically reading Pride and Prejudice. There's also just extra stuff dealing with zombies, and he kept it within that writing style. But Fables it was a great series. There's a lot of stuff. Vertigo had so much good stuff. I mean, they had one about bug guys that would go to houses and but it was really good. DMZ is another fantastic where there's a civil war and New York is literally the demilitarized zone. And so it's a whole story about a reporter going into the demilitarized zone and surviving and telling the story, and it's really good. It's not like left right political. It's just really good. I mean, there's a political stuff in there, right? But it's not like politics is today.
So the other few things I'll ask you before we head out. We had a great conversation here. It was great talking to you, man. Can't wait to have you on again.
I'd love to be here.
First thing is, do you have anything planned coming up in 2024, going into 2025 that you want the audience know about?
Lots of stuff. I mean, I always do vinyl nights. I have my annual Holy Day of Dio on Christmas evening, where we celebrate the life of Ronnie James Dio, the amazing singer.
He's already ready for Christmas. We're just barely getting to Halloween, honestly.
Well, some stuff. I have a night of Sabaton that I'm going to be doing. It's the first. See, that's one of my favorite things about the show. Most of these albums I'm hearing for the first time. Sometimes even artists I'm hearing for the first time. So there's always something new and exciting. I'm working on talking to people about music, doing a show like that. That's going to be multi-platform. Also breaking down music because people like that. And also getting back into the gaming swing of things with my bad life choice simulators where you, the chat, get to choose. And hopefully eventually I'll start recording some more music one of these days. That's always a goal. So
yeah. And the kids are, how old are the kids? You said they were younger, right?
6 and 4.
Oh gosh, man. So you had a long way to go before they're like out of the house.
I mean, I'm okay with them. Listen, my kids, that's the great thing about my kids. First off, they love coming on the afternoon shows that I do. They love music. They know what records they like. They call CDs little records. They don't understand the difference between a vinyl record and a CD yet, so they just call them little records, which I'm like take after my own heart. I love you. I love my girls. And so, yeah, they're a handful, but man, it's so worth it. Being a dad is it's the greatest thing in the world. And it also is one of those things where emotionally, like before you have kids, you're basically at a 1 in 10 scale. And then with kids, it's like infinity negative, whatever, and infinity positive, whatever. Like your kids will take you to the highest highs and the lowest lows. But man, when you get to those highs, it's great. I can't describe it. So
the last thing I'll ask you, man, is do you have any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular and any closing statements or thoughts before we end the show?
Man, well, to my Rumble community and I thank you guys so much. A huge special shout out to Ghillie Suit Gaming on Rumble. My laptop that I'm currently on right now is dying, and he sent me a brand new computer.
That's crazy.
To continue doing what I love to do. He built it on stream and he's sending it to me. And so like huge shout out to him. Obviously to my kids and my wife. Like
Mhm.
without them, I couldn't do this. Like, you know, they let me do this.
Mhm.
Um, and honestly, a huge thank you to you. I've been really excited about doing the show with you and hanging
Anytime,
out with
man.
you.
Yeah.
And I hopefully I can come back on again. Hopefully I was entertaining to your community. So I want to thank your community for allowing me to come hang out with
Oh,
you
don't thank
guys.
them. They're a bunch of cloud chasers. They're just here.
No, I appreciate them very, very much. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to have you on for a second appearance, or maybe you're on a panel the next time. Because when I told you the stuff I did, I was doing panel shows on Friday, but like I told you before we started, gonna
Yep.
probably only use these days for newer content that I want to make that I should be starting to do this week actually. And then Fridays moving forward, either if I have a one-on-one, if I don't have that, then I'm gonna do something else because I really got to get this stuff done. And taking a break from the panel show, pretty good for someone that's been doing it for I don't know,
Forever. Yeah.
four plus years. Let's say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nonstop.
It's a lot of work, man. It definitely is. So, yeah, I was just like I said, I was super glad when you reached out to me, and this has just been awesome to come hang out
Yeah,
with
anytime,
you.
man. Because
Yeah.
I gotta whip you into shape and get you on some newer stuff. We gotta show you new music from Drake. That's what'll get you back into music.
Oh yes, yeah. I can't do it. I can't do.
I can't do that either.
do Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Listen, I think rap died with the Marshall Mathers EP. Maybe the following album, but really, I think that was.
Before we go, one last quick thing. What do you think about the Diddy situation? Do you really think he's a truly bad person that's going to be getting thrown away anytime soon?
Well, I mean, I think at this point he'd rather be Hillaried. But yeah, it's a fairly known thing, just like Epstein was in the political world, right? Diddy
Yeah.
was fairly well known in the in the industry, both music and film. However, these people protect each other. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
So when
know
they have
if
no further use for you, they'll throw you away too. Once
because
they already got big. Yeah.
right. So what they're saying is that this could bring the film and music industry down, and these people don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's gonna. I would like that to happen. I think that would be fantastic because then we get a new start, right? Hopefully, it's not going to happen. So I guess it'll be interesting to see. I was never a big Diddy fan. Like that wasn't my scene.
Apparently, it was not a lot of people's thing either. Just don't want to be Diddy.
Right. It just wasn't my thing, whether musically or partying. Like, and I've been to the Playboy Mansion before.
You back in the day when you were famous, you didn't go to those special music parties,
No, I was never famous, but I was an extra for Weezer's video Beverly Hills, which was filmed at the Playboy Mansion.
Oh God.
So, but yeah, no, that was about as close as I got to them parties.
Gosh. Well, I just want to say thank you to Sophmorejohn for coming on for the first time. Can't wait to have you on again in a couple of months and see where things are at. I'll tell people this before we head out. Rumble, even if you have really no plans on being fully with the platform, try just uploading your content there. And when Rumble ever does pop off, let's say the lawsuit goes 50-50 and they're a lot more recommended to people. If you already start uploading your content there now, I'm talking about uploading everything there from your first video, manually upload all your content there, streams, everything, because that way you're not starting from scratch when everyone else starts trying to do the same thing too. You want to kind of get ahead of everybody right now, that way you're not kind of fighting for scraps when Rumble does eventually pop off, and to be fair, it's content you're already uploading anyway. Like, you're not doing anything different. You're just putting it in a different place. It's the same shit.
I will say this. So with the current shows that I do, I can't do it anywhere else but Rumble. However, that being said, I encourage everybody to be on as many platforms as possible to get your stuff out. If you really want to make a living at this, you need to be everywhere, first off. And on top of that, because people think, oh, Rumble's only political. Well, first off, everything's political right now because it's the political season. And that's going to die down, by the way, like real quickly, because that's the cycle that we live in. And every 2 and 4 years, politics kind of becomes a thing, right? However, when you come to Rumble, even if you're just uploading videos, you monetization that moment.
Yeah.
Why are you going to turn down money? There's no point in turning down free money, because free money
Yeah.
by playing your videos, or instead of uploading it, you upload it to Rumble Studio and do a premiere like on YouTube. So even though it's an old stream, it comes up like a live stream.
Yeah.
And you have a
I
chance to
agree.
make more money, right? So just get your, like, really, I encourage you to get your stuff out here. And if you're new to Rumble and you come to my show, let me know. I will help promote you. I mean, I'll do what I can to get people to come follow your channel, support
Yeah.
you. I want to see people succeed. I want to see people happy. I want to see people grow good communities that they love spending time with, which is my community is like a second family. And yeah. So that's all I got to say about that. But be everywhere that you possibly can.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, man. And thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK Show. And we will see you guys later. Have a great night.